What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to the stream on Sunday, where we usually do fandom stuff. We talk about, TV shows we're watching currently or what have you. And we decided we're going to talk about Suicide Squad. We're going to nerd out on Suicide Squad a little bit, or should I say the Suicide Squad, not to be mistaken with the Ire Suicide Squad. I feel like that was such a weird name situation. But before we get into it, let's begin by welcoming the panel. Script Doctor, always good to see you. How are you?
I am well. Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation, and I hope everyone in the chat is as well.
Yes, it's going to be super fun. How are you, Jayne?
I am doing fantastic. Happy to be here.
Yay, me too. I'm happy you're here. And also, Jayne just dropped her own Suicide Squad spoiler-free review.
I did.
So make sure you check that out if you don't want spoilers, because this will be full of spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers and you're like, oh, I don't really want to know, go watch Jayne's review. There you go. Jayne, do you want to tell everyone about your channel before we move on to Teresa?
Yeah, you can find me here on YouTube, where I post movie and television reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jayne Theory.
Yay! Awesome. Script Doctor also has a YouTube channel. It's in the description, along with these wonderful ladies. Miss Martin Muses, how are you?
Well, I'm fantastic. Just having microphone problems as usual. It always works fantastic. The microphone worked fantastic all afternoon today. Well, you can find me at Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad. Or
wait, did I cut out or did she cut out?
I think she just cut out.
The microphone gave her problems.
Oh, she's probably cursing up a storm.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I spent.
Do you want to get out and come back in?
Who, me? Oh, am I having problems now?
No, you're fine now.
No, my problem is with my microphone. I got a big ass expensive microphone, and it's been doing nothing but shutting down and messing up. So I'm just gonna go back to my old microphone.
You should return it and leave a nasty review.
I probably should. I probably should. But it works sometimes. Let me see. This one should be better. There we are. I'm back to my big blue snowball. Sorry about that. I was just basically talking about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, just really ticks me off. You know what really ticks me off is a GD microphone that doesn't work.
You should make a video about that stuff.
Review the microphone.
I could make
a review.
You should. You should totally do it, and then post it like as an Amazon review thing, like on the Amazon, because you can do that.
Yep. Do half the review with your current mic, and then half the review with the crappy mic, and then show them, see the difference.
See the difference.
Go,
one of them
Doctor.
just quits working randomly in the middle of things.
Patrick Bateman says boomer tech.
Yeah.
Teresa is so funny too, because she's such a classy lady. And then this morning or this afternoon, I was playing D&D with her, and things didn't go well. And all of a sudden, she was like, "Fuck!" And I was like, "Holy shit! I've never heard Teresa swear like that before."
Well, I was 1 point away from basically taking out this Yeti deal, and I did a crap roll. I rolled a 4. All I had to do was get a 5 on a D20, and I couldn't even do that.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you can find Teresa's YouTube channel in the description down below. And Tarmanel comes in with a $100 Czech krona, I believe that is. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, I look forward to the analysis. For me personally, the film was exactly not great, not terrible. And the Rat Girl is an example of how to make a sympathetic and at the same time strong super heroine. You know what's funny is, Tarmanel, that's exactly how I felt about the movie as well. I felt like it was okay. Like for me, it was like a 5 out of 10. It was an okay movie. It was fun. It was a popcorn flick. It wasn't woke, so I enjoyed that. It wasn't woke. But I'll get into it more in a little bit. What did you guys overall thoughts on it first, I guess? Script Doctor, what'd you think?
I was bored through the entirety of the film.
Oh, wow. Bored.
Yeah, there's one surprising moment happened in the very beginning, where after Savant, played by Michael Rook, killed that bird. I was expecting him to lick the ball clean, but he didn't. He wiped it on his pants, and that was the only thing that surprised me of the entire film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What about you,
The rest of the
Jayne?
movie, I was ahead by 10, 15 minutes. I knew exactly what was going to happen before it happened.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Jayne?
I enjoyed it overall. There were definitely some issues, I would say, with pacing. There were moments where I got bored, but there was enough of it that I liked. That was just sort of fun and comic booky. And I enjoyed several of the characters.
Me too.
Especially one in particular I didn't think I would like, which it came as a little bit of a shock. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good.
Xavier is asking if Will Smith is in this one. No. Okay, so this one is not with Will Smith. It's with Idris Elba, and he's not playing the same character. He's playing what was the guy's name? Sorry.
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. Thank you. He's playing Bloodshot. And I didn't feel like Will Smith was really missed in this movie. I thought Idris Elba did a great job as portraying that character. Yeah, so Will Smith is not in this movie. This is not the same movie. It's kind of like a redone version of the original. It's not quite a sequel, but it's kind of a sequel / remake. So that's the case. Teresa, what did you think overall?
I'm kind of with Script Doctor here. Fierce bored, and I was getting vibes of Loki, if this makes any sense.
Oh, no.
In the sense of, make it stop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and part of, I think, what really, really annoyed me about the entire movie was it was so clear from almost the first few frames that James Gunn is just like, look, it's just like Guardians of the Galaxy. Look, I'm going to do these same shots. Oh, look, I'm going to have these quirky characters. And look, isn't this freaking hilarious? And I'm like, you're forcing it, man. You're forcing it. And this is weird. And it's not Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not fitting in with the DCEU and or whatever the hell they call it now. Universe.
There's no such thing as a DCEU. Yeah. That's as journalists came up with that. From Warner Brothers to just DC films. That's it.
Fine.
Oh, I thought it was DCEU now because of the whole Zack Snyder situation.
No, Warner Brothers doesn't do that because here's the thing: what does the E stand for? Is it extended or is it what's the other one?
Extended, right? Extended universe.
Extended from what though?
Oh, I don't know.
See, that's the question. Or it can't be expanded because it's not expanded from anything. There's only the franchise, which are DC films. So the letter E thrown in there is completely superfluous and meaningless. And what's funny is that even my friends that are still working at Warner Media for now, I don't know how long that's going to last, they laugh every time they see a report or fans talk about the DCEU because they're like, we don't know what the hell that is. It's not a thing.
So it should be like DC
films. They're just DC films.
Like DC Cinematic Universe. That's what it should be called.
That's what they would love to have, but they don't have that, and they're well aware of it.
Okay. Well, the more you know. I don't have that shit. I don't have that clip, but I'll just make that noise. Stephen Otten for $5 says, "Greetings, Nina, Script, Jayne, Miss Martin, Muses, and chat. TSS was surprisingly entertaining. While not the second coming, it's worth seeing." I agree with that. Well, maybe. Okay. I'll kind of lay down what I think about. I'll kind of lay down like this because I am a normie when it comes to the stuff like this, especially DC, because I'm more of a Marvel girl. I'm a normie, so I'm coming at it from a normie angle mostly. Like the people I know, especially villains I know from like the Batman universe and maybe Superman. That's pretty much it. Like the only the familiar character for me was Harley Quinn. Like everybody else, I was like, I don't really know. Like I knew that the Flag guy from the old movie, I I knew Bloodshot was supposed to be replacing Deadshot, but it was a different character, even though it exists in the movie, in the comics. I don't know about it. What I did think was that, see, unlike Teresa, I liked James Gunn's vision in terms of like how he made the movie, like the colors and everything like that, because I don't like Zack Snyder's vision. Like, I don't like that weird, dark, gritty, like, I don't know, the grayscale, like everything is just gray. I don't like
flat.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like that. I like the colors. I like it being comical because it's very comical to me in that sense. When you have those bold colors, like I liked Harley Quinn's outfits. I thought it was very, very resembling of her character. So I like those kind of things. I like the colors. But the movie did have some problems for me. Like, for example, I thought, again, spoiler warning, because we're going to be talking about the ending here and the main baddie, like the main boss and stuff like that. So if you don't want to know spoilers, check out Jayne's spoiler-free review.
Yes.
So when they start battling the kaiju, right, at the end, and I was like, well, okay, so the Suicide Squad's going after the big baddie and everything because they decide to do it, you know, instead of like getting in spite of getting their head blown off, maybe they were like, we're gonna go and kill this thing because Bloodsport is a good guy down inside and he wants to help. So I'm like, okay, but it's been like this thing is heading towards a giant city. So for me, I can't believe in a universe where there's Superman who can hear all the cries of everyone and all that kind of shit, and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and all these fuckers. They're in this world, in this universe, and then they're like, well, whatever, kaiju's fucking destroying a city. Who gives a fuck? Let's leave it to Bloodsport and Harley Quinn to go take care of that. It just seems really weird and outside the comic book, like, I don't know, like their world. Like, there has to be some sort of logic to this, right? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the point of having superheroes if like the supervillains are doing that shit?
But isn't that always the problem? Anytime you deep dive into a singular character, you're always going to ask, well, where are all the other characters who exist in this universe?
Well, that's a good question. But
Especially
also,
Superman. I mean, he hears all the cries, right? Like, come on.
He can, but the other part too is which is priority. Is there something else happening elsewhere that might take precedence? The other part too is that the climax of the Suicide Squad happens in a matter of minutes. So the fact of the matter is that where is Superman on Earth, and can he get there in time, or does he get there too late? The other part too, which I also noticed, which was kind of interesting, not great but not terrible, was that all these Starro basically slaves, they don't scream. We don't hear any shouts of panic or anything from them. That just happens too quickly before they can respond. So even if Superman could hear, I don't think he'd get enough information to really figure out what's going on.
No, but he would hear the cries of the people dying, and that he's
I don't recall many people dying, and that the buildings were being smashed, but they're completely uninhabited because Starro was enslaving all of them. And there's then the militia that then took over the parliamentary house of that other president when he thought, oh, I'm going to be the leader. There's a lot of things thrown in there that can cause a lot of confusion. But at the same time, you have to realize is that if this was an ongoing thing, like the news cameras weren't reporting on this right away, that was after the fact. If this was an ongoing thing where it was like maybe 20, 30 minutes or so, then there'd be some thing to say like, yeah, you know what, Superman should have shown up by now because we would have heard it. But once you get to that climax, when Starro's out and he's already got like a third of the population under his control, and the only people we're seeing that aren't affected are the Suicide Squad, and they're not screaming for help or anything, they're saying we're on a mode for attack. What incentive is there, or what explanation is there to justify Superman thinking that he's needed?
Listen, if Superman is off planet, I agree. But
along those same lines, though, remember in the comics and or in the Smallville series, Superman is aware of this mission. So it could be that he's sort of delegating.
Oh.
Like, you guys deal with that. I'm going to go over here and deal with that.
I didn't get that he was aware of the mission. And my understanding was that he was...
Maybe he's aware of the mission through Batman, because I think Batman keeps track of all that shit, right?
Well, to the best he can, but Checkmate, which is the head of Task Force X at Belle Reve and the Suicide Squad, does everything they can to try and keep things as secret as possible. And it's pretty tricky for Batman to figure out everything that's going on there at all times. But he does the best that he can. With regards to something of this nature, if it was like, I would say the first Suicide Squad film with Enchantress trying to, take over the world, that should have required attention from like Superman to Flash, because that was an ongoing thing. A whole city on mainland United States was pretty much like gone dark.
I thought the same thing about the first movie too. I was like, where's all the actual superheroes and all this? Like, I don't understand. But the same thing is like, but like also to address Lord Runner's comment here, it says Superman can't always get there in time. He's not that powerful. Disagree, man. Superman is the most powerful of all. He can get there.
Yeah.
And he can turn back time. So even if he doesn't get there, he can
can't
turn back time.
bilocate though. He can't bilocate.
It's Superman, Teresa. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
And maybe he's intervening in something that does involve other super creatures. Like here, I think the whole idea, and it's all blurring together because you have the different storylines, but here the whole idea was that there was some sort of secret base where there was experimentation on other superhuman people, right? That was the original idea. That's something that you could reasonably see humans dealing with. Like you wouldn't necessarily need Superman to deal with this threat.
Yeah, but I would have liked to see, for example, like let's say not even Superman, like Wonder Woman show up like on some building and then be like, oh, looks like this is taken care of. Like I don't need to be here. Bye. And then like
show up after the fact and not deflate the situation. That would be kind of like a good joke. Yeah. Or like one of them said, you're 10 minutes late. Yeah,
like and then she's like, oh, I can see everything's under control here. Bye. Like like something like that. Like it would have been kind of cool. And then you have like Gal Gadot like starring for like a minute. Like it would have been funny.
Oh, then that could have been cool. Yeah.
But like Michael Quaid here says, I just can't believe some people are super dumping on one of the best movies to come out in years. We've had just 5 years of crappy movies. This is a good movie.
That's a very narrow time frame to use to judge and equate movies. Like I'm judging this by the last 100 years of film because it's going to be part of that last 100 years of film. So why would I ever lower the bar for my taste just because the last 5 years have been terrible?
Like exactly, man. I feel the same thing as you, Script Doctor, especially because if you're someone like me who's actually watched a lot of classic cinema, like black and white movies and a lot of classic movies, these years' movies are they cannot be compared in any way, shape, or form to classic movies or anything like that. But at the same time, like I get what you're saying, and it's not woke, and it's not this, and it's not that. But at the same time, does this fall into we're lowering our standards so much that we're like, well, just because it's not woke, it passes, whatever test that we have now for it, and it's acceptable as a movie.
The inverse Bechdel test. The inverse Bechdel test.
Yeah, basically. But I think people do want, like, right now, after so much trash, yeah, I think the bar is lowered. What we want is entertainment and no woke politics crap included. If we can just sit and watch it and just explosions, whatever, it's fine. And no non-political nonsense that we have to deal with in the real world, then yeah, many people are going to view that as a success.
Yeah, maybe Zack Snyder's Superman is flawed, but not my Superman. Sorry, Runner.
Heck, even my Superman is flawed, but
Runner.
not the low-hanging fruit that we see with Zack Snyder's take.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's Superman is
the best flaw for Superman is that he wants a normal life, but he can't have it, but he still does the right things at the sacrifice of such normal life.
Thank you, Script Doctor. Like saving his father.
He's not there yet. He's not there.
We're not getting into that. We're not.
By the time he puts on the costume, he is there. That's the point.
Thank you,
not in Zack Snyder's universe.
That's because Zack Snyder's still 17 years old, takes steroids, and thinks that 14-year-old women should be dating him.
Oh my God!
No! Come on, let's not go there.
Shots fired.
He doesn't do it, but he just thinks they should.
Well, here's the deal. Well, yeah, I mean, we could talk about Superman all day long. How's this? This is where I'll be generous with the modern, recent Superman versions. I think we can all agree that Henry Cavill is a very good actor and good for the role, and
deserves better. Absolutely.
In a perfect world, I'm being generous here. In a perfect world, he could have had a chance to be a bit of a better Superman. How's that? In my humble opinion, but
Agreed.
I love him.
I do respect people though that have a different opinion about the Snyderverse, because if that's what they like, that's what they like. And the way that the comics is there really are different iterations of them. And so if you don't really like it too much, you can just go back and enjoy Christopher Reeve, which I do, because he is my definitive in real life Superman.
Yeah,
Man
and
of
I like
Steel
the
is
other
amazing.
guy too with
Yeah,
Superman and Lois.
I
Dean
Taylor Hoechlin?
Dean Cain, I forget what his name is.
Oh,
Dean
Dean
Cain's from
Cain.
Lois and Clark.
Oh, Terry
yeah,
Hatcher.
Lois and Clark. Sorry, Lois and Clark. Yeah.
Did I tell you that I met him in real life, and he is a man of steel still?
Oh boy.
When he put,
Teresa.
all I'll say is this. I met him at one of those conventions, and you can pay like $10 to get a selfie. And of course, I'm sitting there. Is this room like 500,000 degrees? And they go put your arm around you for the picture. We smile, and I'm like, holy crap, he is made of steel. That man's muscles, his biceps and triceps and quadrupleceps, whatever the hell they were steel.
Oh my. Will Gentry, first of all, Will, good to see you. Second of all, your icon's awesome. And third of all, says Superman is a bitch. Give me Homelander. Who the hell is Homelander?
Homelander's from The Boys, and Homelander is the type of guy who he's really insecure, and he basically pleasures himself on the top of a building and lets what happens fly down on the city. I wouldn't call him to be. I wouldn't say that's an alpha move. I'd say that's a really pathetic move.
Wow. Okay. I have to check out The Boys at some point. I didn't watch it because people were saying that season 2 was trash. So I was like, I don't know if I want to.
Wasn't as impressive as the first season. The trades of the Boys comic are quite interesting, but it's Garth Ennis is a very disturbed writer, so you got to brace yourself for that.
And then I saw Spike and Madness saying that it's not a Wonder Woman movie, so go watch Wonder Woman. But that wasn't my point. My point is it would have been funny if they had shown up and been like, it's too late. I wouldn't be like, let's focus on her for longer than literally 2 minutes. It would be just a,
they show up and problem solved.
Yeah, she shows up. She's like, oh, okay, that's it. There's no, it would have just been funny. It would have been for people like me who are like, well, where are the superheroes? And it's like, oh, here they are. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
But otherwise, okay. So let's start with the script. Script Doctor, what'd you think of what'd you think of all the dialogue, the script, story?
Yeah, it was fine. I was really hoping for a lot more out of this because I do enjoy James Gunn's films. I liked his movie Super. I liked Slither. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but this one here, it felt lacking. There was just something missing from it. The Ratcatcher 2 was an interesting character, and I didn't think that her backstory was kind of compelling, but I don't understand her. I don't understand the value or the escalation as to why she's in Belle Rev, because she's there. We find out she's there because she robbed a bank. It's that's pretty tame for someone with a magic wand that controls rats. It's you take that wand away, they go to a prison like Blackgate. They don't go to Arkham or Belle Rev. They go to a normal prison to a point. And then when it comes something like Bloodsport, who is high paid assassin mercenary who is the only person who ever hurt Superman and whatnot, I can understand he'd be considered high risk. Same with Peacemaker, same with King Shark. Even to an extent with Polka Dot Man, but she just felt out of place. And yeah, I mean, I would love to have seen a story with her if she was actually a bit more of a vicious villain as opposed to a really kind of tempered down villain.
Really? I liked her. I
do like her. I think the story would be great, but if she actually earned her position at Belle Reeve, as opposed to just having robbed a bank. It's like, no, I
Like she
held
was
up this.
misunderstood.
Yeah, she was like this misunderstood thing. It's like, no, maybe she should have like, held someone hostage. Maybe the company that created the drugs that killed her dad or something, go to a level that would warrant the escalation and the response for her to be in jail. Probably would have made her a bit more of an interesting character.
Could she be housed at a regular jail though?
Yes, because her powers
because
are
they
not
would take
mental. Their
away-
powers through that
the metal
mechanical
rod.
device. Yeah.
That's what gives her rat powers. So everything else, she's normal lady. That's why she almost died.
Yeah.
When that guy like knocked the rod out of her hand. Speaking of which, Fatal J says how Rick flagged mad at Peacemaker for protecting the lab that experimented on kids, but put Weasel on his team for killing 25 kids. I don't know, but see, that was one of the characters that I really, really liked. And I don't know if this is because I really love Joel Kinnaman and I wanted him to be in the movie, but I was really upset when he died. Like, I was like, the fuck just happened? Like, I was actually really pissed. And then when the end of the scene, when they were like, going to see who's alive or whatever, I was like, oh, please let it be Joel Kinnaman. Please let it be Joel Kinnaman. And of course, it's the China's sellout guy. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
And the Weasel.
Yeah, and fucking Weasel. Like, what did you guys even think about Weasel? Like, was he really necessary? I thought he was too silly. Like, it just
It was a gag character specifically. Like,
it took me out of the movie. I was like, what is this guy? Like,
that's what I thought, Mark. I don't think the little rod thing was a source of her power. I thought it just magnified it.
Really? No, I thought it was like literally. That's why that guy was like, "Oh, you use this technology to control the rat's brains. I want to use that for humans." Like
I don't
the
think
rod.
The rat catcher, the father, had the ability to communicate with them. So, assuming that that's genetic, she shouldn't need anything to do that.
Unless the one amplifies it that it's tons, as opposed to like one or two in the local area. But even then, it's like. That's a stretch. Either give her the power completely or don't give her O'Toole to amplify it.
I agree, but I just think if you're dealing with somebody who has any type of psychic ability or some sort of enhanced ability, that could explain why she wouldn't be put in a normal jail. Because they may not understand the extent of her power.
Oh, that makes sense. Spike and Madness says he didn't choose a theme. That's right. The woman did.
Amanda Waller, who...
Thank you.
As a character, fun fact with regards to her origin in DC Comics and everything of that nature, she actually has the only reason she's intimidating is because she's put in a position of authority that gives her the power to do so. But she is actually a very weak and feeble character. She makes decisions that are very difficult, of course, but the fact of the matter is you take her out of checkmate, and she cannot hold her own in any confrontation at all. Even with her wits and whatnot, it just does not happen. In fact, there's been some Elseworlds stories where she is dead moments after being outside of checkmate, and there's even some where she's like gets shot by Deadshot walking out of the shower. Like she's a very vulnerable character, and everything is through basically like a false sense of intimidation. And one of the weirdest parts of the movie was the fact that she gets knocked out with a golf club, and I'm thinking, you work for this woman, you know her authority, you know that how she treats people that betray her. You better finish the job or else you're dead. And
I was thinking the same thing because I was like, when this chick wakes up, she's gonna want to kill all these people. So
exactly, she should, but she doesn't. And I'm like, that's your contrivance. You screwed up there.
Yeah, because I would think that she would kill all of those people. The way that she talked, like when that guy was like, you wouldn't really do that to his daughter, would you? And she was like, you don't know half the things I'm capable of. I was like, if somebody tells you something like that and you see what she's doing, like she was going to blow those people up for going to fight the big baddie guy.
Yep.
She deserves to die because she will kill you.
And it's Viola Davis who does a great job with these types of roles. And so I was sold on her, but again, there's so many things around this. The one thing that was really missing for me were the stakes, like a clear understanding of the stakes, which is that, okay, so they have Starro and he can take over other people's consciousness, and he's limited to this island. And it's like, okay, I need a little bit more. Like, how is the Corto Maltese government going to weaponize this? Like, do they have a plan? No, we don't know what that is, other than they're still researching them. We do know that they're torturing their people by sacrificing them to Starro, which is an awesome part, but it doesn't go that extra step further to warrant external interaction at this point, because Corto Maltese is such a contentious country within the world of the DC films. So yeah, I was missing something that would make me really on edge for our Suicide Squad to succeed with their mission, but also realize why it's important. And I think that was kind of lacking there. That was not communicated as effectively as it should have been.
Yeah. And to that point, script, I think that's maybe was part of the problem I had with it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually a movie has a catch, like something that snags you and then drags you along for the ride, and you're on it like a big little roller coaster. And as I was watching it, I was like, okay, kids, help me out here. What am I supposed to care about? What am I supposed to be concerned about? Where are we going? How am I supposed to be feeling? And then all I started feeling was blood.
And here's the thing that, okay, so Atomic Slasher says Ratcatcher too, I believe, can control rats by herself. I think the rod is just a tool she uses to summon them. So we have like 3 or 4 different people on the panel who totally thought that she had a different kind of like how her power came to be was a different way than like somebody else did, including you, Atomic Slash, and I'm sure most of the chat. That to me is a flaw, like a very glaring flaw in a movie like this, when you're trying to introduce the character and then no one knows exactly how her power works. Because we all know how Superman's power works, and like, how what he's, allergic to, kryptonite or whatever, or like, Batman, or like anyone else, any of these people, right? Their power, but you don't know this character. Normies do not know this character. And then here we have this like problem of this flaw of introducing new characters and making us care about them, and then understanding how exactly they have their powers.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jane.
No, I was just going to say that was one of my main criticisms in my review, was that you have so many characters and you don't really have enough time with each of them to learn about them or to develop them or anything. It's just a lot of different people on the screen. If you recognize them, then you're kind of fine with it. But if you're coming to this blind, I don't understand how any of it would be clear. So, yeah.
The visual cues in the film so far depicts that every time she has the rod and it glows up, that's when rats respond. So that's the information that's being conveyed to the audience. But we didn't get a thing where she lost the wand and she didn't say, hey, help me get this back so I can do this, or any of that nature. That wasn't quite really established. And so we, as a result, I guess we have a miscommunication up through the rules of her power set to understand what can actually be at stake with her character.
Did you guys like that she was the one that took out the Starro thing? Technically, I mean,
I'm surprised those rats didn't drown.
Right.
I know, right? Like, how were they?
They're not super.
Yeah, how are they eating the rat, like the thing inside liquid, in like, because they were in water, like.
They're in something that will definitely clog up their lungs if they inhaled.
That's what I'm saying. Like, were the rats super? I don't understand her powers at all, because I was thinking, like, how is this rat infestation helping the situation? Like, are they not gonna die when they go in that water? But
yeah, because they're in there for a bit, and when you chew and try to swallow when there's water around you, you take the water with you, and it doesn't always
into the lung. There had to be like a 1,000 dead rats inside that kaiju as they tried to eat it. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just.
I mean, it would have felt better if like the eye kind of drained out and you kind of saw something like become shallow, and then they were swimming on top of it and then chewing away.
Really, Spike? That's your excuse, that they're CGI rats?
That's the answer.
The power of computer-generated rodents.
What? Oh my God, scuba rats. There you
go.
Scuba
rats, yeah. They're all wearing little scuba gear. They're just oscillating between names. That'd be fantastic.
Well, Teresa and Jane, what did you guys think of the script before we move on to, because I want to talk about something else.
Well, that was one of my main issues with the characters, and just the lack of the ability to properly define them for the audience, because there were so many. The other thing too, I feel it was a little bit inconsistent in terms of the flow of the story. You had, as much as I enjoyed the action, when there wasn't action happening, it was just boring. Like nothing. I wasn't getting anything out of the conversation.
I really
There was
like that
nothing to watch.
conversation between Harley and that guy that she shot, though. That was great. I thought that was really good. You didn't like that part?
The only conversation I liked really was between Ratcatcher and her father.
That was a good combo too.
Between her and Bloodsport briefly when she talked about her dad. That's one of the things I do love about this movie too, is that you do have that aspect of that relationship in the movie, and you don't see that these days. So that was really sweet.
That was cool. I like that too.
The rest of it, it's just like, oh my God, please.
I love that. I love that scene when Harley shoots that guy and she starts being like, I told myself, if you see any red flags, that's it.
That was funny.
Like, and I was like, dude, that's Harley.
That's Harley, yeah.
I love that. Like, I actually rewatched that whole scene after the movie was over because I was like, that was my favorite part of the movie when she was like just killing it, and literally and figuratively. And I just love how she was just like, I don't know. She's just so badass in it. And I really liked her Harley Quinn in this. I thought
this was the best representation of that, I think. I think this was the best Harley Quinn character.
I thought so too.
I kind of disagree. I don't like Harley Quinn being stupid and slutty. That's just not who she is. And that's what she's been in 3 lives. No, she didn't know who Milton was. She wasn't paying attention. And the stuff that she was doing with Javelin, like, that's not her. The thing is, like, she's a clinical psychiatrist who put her career before her love, and when Joker saw through that, he manipulated both so that she'd sacrifice her career for love, and the love was not real, and so it broke her. And no, she did not jump into the vat of chemicals like Joker did. That never really happened. That's current age stuff. That's crap. But when she breaks up with the Joker, she's conflicted in 2 reasons. The first being is that as a psychologist, she knows she needs to rehabilitate herself, but she also knows that people hold grudges and the world will never accept her for being a real rehabilitated criminal, so she might as well lean into it. And that's her internal conflict. And that conflict has been ignored in every interpretation of Harley Quinn when she's on her own, in favor of basically putting her out as a prostitute in fashion and attitude on in screen. And I always really object to that.
Well, she was more of a prostitute in the last movie and then this one, because in this one she was pretty conservative with that dress and everything.
Well, I mean, she didn't get to choose the dress, but on top of that, she jumped a guy's bones, which, you know, do whatever you want, but that's not really who she is. And then the other part too is that even in the animated films, she's always sleeping with some member within the Suicide Squad and always exploiting her nudity and her body. And it's like, that is not who Harley Quinn is as a character. She's actually quite reserved. She only has eyes for one man. And even when that man breaks her heart, she's just out thinking about herself and not other relationships. And the fact that they're trying to basically, some of these people who are writing the character are writing her more as a sexual fantasy that they wish she was, as opposed to staying true to what is actually logical and emotionally resonates with the character. We now get these horrible interpretations of her. And Margot Robbie, bless her, as being an actress, she cannot do a Brooklyn accent to save her life. She doesn't have the joviality that Harley Quinn has. She doesn't have the faux innocence that Harley Quinn has. She plays it across as basically a woman that is that I could never believe has a degree in psychology. And that's the thing with Harley Quinn. She's so dangerous and clever that you understand why she's intelligent and also understand why she was broken by the Joker.
I understand what you're saying, Script Doctor, and I thought that maybe James Gunn did a little bit in that little bit of a dialogue where she was talking about how, like, you know, when she shoots that when she shoots that guy
after she shoots the guy, yeah,
when she's like saying like the reason she shot him and the reason she told herself like if there's any red flags and blah blah blah, you can kind of see that side of her, like the psychologist side of her, the side that's promised herself that she's never going to be with another man that's going to break her heart and do all these like horrific things that she's against, because that's what happened with Joker. That's what they had a falling out over, was that he was too fucking nuts, right?
And well, he was abusing the hell out of her, and she finally realized it. Yeah,
she realized it, and she realized that he's psychotic.
Love goggles can blind a lot of people. I'm pretty sure everyone knows those situations.
I thought her character came through a little bit more than the last one in that sense. But I do agree about her like not remembering Milton and stuff like that. You're right. Like
I didn't catch that.
they did dumb her down a little bit. But although it was for comical reasons, like in the end when she was like when she called Bloodsport Milton, I kind of laughed at that. That was funny. It's like, okay, Milton.
Not my
Like,
name.
that's-
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
not my
listen,
name.
it's a fair joke, but just it doesn't ring true with
I
her.
get what you're saying. See,
'Cause
again,
he did introduce himself directly at the beginning when they meet, and it's
I
like
know. Oh, I know, but she didn't think he was significant enough. She knew Rick's name, right? Because he
the
was her
previous
friend.
mission. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he was her friend, and she knew he came to rescue her. She knew him because he is kind to her, and they had worked together.
Yeah,
See,
and I will
she
say the
just had
concept.
Bloodsport, right?
I will say the
Um,
concept of that scene where basically they plan to rescue her because she's part of the mission, and how she's like feeling that that's a thoughtful thing to do. It was fine and nice.
mhm.
I think that the line "I could go back in if you want" was a good line, but I think her delivery of it being like disappointed and kind of worried that she's upset her friends was
Yeah,
the
she's like, I
bad.
can go back in there, and you could go again if you want.
Yeah, like I think it would become more of a matter of fact thing. Like she's like excited to do that as opposed to like, oh, I'm so sorry you've wasted all this time thinking and planning.
Oh, yeah, she would be more like, well, I can go back there. Let's do it again. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, she'd be
that.
more
Yeah,
gung ho about it as opposed to regretful. And
right. see
I
what
don't
you
blame
mean.
Margot Robbie for that. I hold the director accountable because it's like, what tone are you going here for? Like, are you
Ah,
trying to make
that's-
her sympathetic, or are you trying to make her dangerous and scary? And I've always preferred the dangerous and scary when it comes to a villain as opposed to a sympathetic.
I didn't
That's
get
a
it as
very interesting
regretful
point of view.
though. I didn't interpret
She was
it as
on borderline
regretful.
tears when she was saying that.
Yeah.
But I took it more as appreciative and wanting to go back through it for them. Like
That's
you
what I
want to
thought
do
too,
this
Jane.
so bad, then I can go back and we can do it. That's fine.
Uh-oh.
It's great. I appreciate that. That's how I saw it. I didn't see it as
I
her
could see the
being sad.
appreciative aspect, but I don't think she should have felt bad for it. She should have felt excited. Is really like that's more of like what I'm because again like I was 8 years old when Harley Quinn came out, and it's like and then you read the comic books that are companion to that, still written by Paul Dini at the time, and you get this really detailed understanding of who this character is. And yet as soon as the year 2000 comes along, it's like no, she's not that anymore. She's
Well,
basically
she's a
like
lesbian now, apparently, with like freaking
in the
yeah.
Harley
Poison
and
Ivy.
Quinn cartoon show
It's
with
been
Poison
changed
Ivy.
again.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing though, Scripps. See, here you're coming at it from a very knowledgeable person when it comes to the character of Harley Quinn. Again, as someone who's a normie, and I would assume people who are watching this maybe for the first time or second time, maybe they've seen the Suicide Squad, or just like this new age of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, no matter what they saw it in. I think that in that sense, she did her best performance in this movie as Harley Quinn.
See, I don't have any problem with her performance at all. Like that's
no, I
You
know.
don't
I
like
think-
this.
I
You
think
don't
that
like this
she is-
iteration of her.
yeah, it's the iteration because again, it's like one of the things that James Gunn was kind of co-promoting with this film is like I'm going to try and get these as comic booky accurate as I possibly can within the within the restrictions that are set for by Warner Brothers. And one of the choice I liked is the fact that he gave her a way better fashion. I mean, like her
I
original
loved
costumes
her
are
dress. Yes.
way
I
better.
love her dress.
The dress that they put her in is great. The weird part where she gets the makeover and then she sees her reflection is like I'm a princess. It's like that doesn't feel Harley Quinn to me. Like that just
Well, yeah.
Well, it's not the purest version.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
see, this goes back to I think what my issue was for the whole thing. I feel like the writing and the direction was off for this, and of course I don't blame herself at all because she is, in my humble opinion, Harley Quinn come to life. I think she does a fantastic job with it.
Agreed.
And she's had 3 schizophrenic versions of it, just like Harley, I guess. It's
the only consistent with Harley is that she's
actress, oh my
inconsistent.
gosh.
She's psycho in each one.
Well,
200
yeah,
watts-
she's psycho in each one.
But I like that how Psycho was done here better than in the past recent iterations of the character. I
Mind you,
felt
I
like
haven't
there was a
watched
bit
Birds
more
of Prey.
complex.
I
Oh,
haven't watched
God.
Birds of Prey, so I can't tell. if
Good.
that-
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't even
I
watch
don't
the
think you're
television
missing
series
anything.
Birds of Prey. They get Harley wrong theirs too.
No, but I mean, in terms of Margot Robbie's performance, I've only seen her in the last Suicide Squad and that's it. I didn't watch Birds of Prey. So 200 Watt Studios, thank you so much for the $20. That's a lot. Thank
Yay.
you. Says I like the cinematography. So did I.
Yep.
Harley was great. Agree. Way too many gags and no ultimate stakes. I agree a little bit. There was ultimate stakes though. It was just a bit leading to gags. I had the entire Ostrander. Oh, is that what the comic book is based on? The
that's one of I think that's one of the main writers of the Suicide Squad from the 80s. I think it is.
Yes, from the 1980 run. I might have mistaken when I called him the artist. I think he is the writer. You are correct. Yeah,
there was none of that in this film, and then awful score. Okay, well,
the music. Oh, the music.
I didn't hate
choices weren't great, but they weren't memorable either.
I liked it.
I didn't mind it. I like that scene where, okay, when you say score, I always mix those things up, because score to me is usually like the actual film music versus like
the orchestrals.
Music.
Yeah, the orchestral part. That is the score, and the soundtrack usually refers to the pop songs and things.
Yeah.
The score and the pop songs usually on side A and B is where you differentiate it. So side A is your score, side B is the licensed music.
Okay, so side B I thought was really good. The score I didn't really notice. It wasn't memorable. Like I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I wasn't like,
not something you can hum. That's actually been a big drawback of a lot of these like superhero films over the last 10 to 12 years, is that they don't have a thematic score that you can like hum, while walking or driving or on a commute or in the shower or anything. Like there's just nothing catchy to it. Like the Avengers theme is kind of the closest thing. That's Alan Silvestri.
That's Alan Silvestri.
Yeah. And that's the only one that they really let him do, because all the other scores are like, no, we don't really. It doesn't matter. It's all about the Marvel overall thing, and I just hate to be a composer on those films, because like you just don't get to have that that John Williams moment, so to speak, or like no Superman theme, no Star Wars theme. You don't even get the Jerry Goldsmith's like Star Trek theme or the Jurassic Park stuff going on there. Like you did nothing of that with our current superhero films.
Yeah, I mean, let's compare it. Right now, I think that all of us could hum, if we wouldn't cause a copyright strike, the Superman theme from the 1978 movie. I mean, gosh, I still hear that and get shivers. What's the Superman theme for this? There's not a theme.
For the Man of Steel, it's gone. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily great. I don't like the Wonder Woman song that they came up with.
It's not very Greek in origin either.
Great.
It's annoying.
It's actually very South American, and it's
maybe the
I know
Wonder
the Amazon's
Woman
out there, but
yeah, but the Wonder Woman one may be the most recognizable right now, because it actually has a theme, whereas in like Man of Steel is like literally a hum.
Yeah,
I don't remember Aquaman's. We haven't heard flashes.
Sorry, I feel sorry for that composer too.
I don't think Batman has one either.
The best part of the Aquaman thing was that Icelandic song that chick sang in the Snyder Cut. I will defend that.
God.
I will defend that.
That may be a good song, but it was so out of place.
But hold on.
I don't care if it was out of place.
But Teresa, that's
the
not
best
a
music.
Score. That's not score though. That's
okay. Yeah, to be
music.
fair. Yeah, I know. Shoot. No. Yeah, there you go. I'm handing back my.
I still think you could have sung it better.
Stephen Otten for $2 says, I must have seen a different movie. Why are we shitting on it too hard? I don't think we were.
Y'all said it's trash.
No, I said it was okay. I said
it was boring. That's not trash. Would elicit a different emotion.
It's trash.
No, trash is Black Widow. I wouldn't watch it. I don't know if I would watch Black. Like if I was gonna suggest like, okay, like watch Black Widow or watch Suicide Squad, I'd be like, watch Suicide Squad. However, and here's the big if here. And actually, I'll say this after this super chat. Thank you so much for the $5. 200 Watt Studios says John Ostrander was the creator and writer of Suicide Squad. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm gonna have to look into this. But what I was gonna say. Oh, and E. Clay says, "Num num." I love King Shark. He was great, and I just love him. But
very sympathetic character. Yeah.
To his point, though, this num num King Shark situation. Okay, so when I saw the ads for this movie, obviously there was this one crazy scene where King Shark like rips this human in half. So I was prepared to go in seeing that scene, and I was prepared that this movie is going to be a little bit violent, considering there's a shark walking around and he's probably going to be eating people and everything. I was like, okay, it's going to be violent. I didn't think it was going to be that violent. Like when I went into this movie, like I was like, holy fuck. Like the first time I watched it, I actually had to turn it off because I wasn't mentally prepared to watch it that night. So I had to like come back to it the next day, actually mentally prepared to go in to watch that much violence. So I think that's actually another thing that goes a little bit against it, where it comes to a movie like Black Widow, where you're not seeing that much violence. And it's more family friendly, and it's more, you can watch it with more people who are less squeamish, let me say, because there is like, even if you're a nerd, like you might be squeamish, you might not like extreme violence on TV. So I don't know how I feel about how extremely violent it was. What did you guys think about that?
For me, there were scenes where I didn't look. I looked away.
I
I'll
did
admit
too.
that, because it's not only is it extreme violence, it's the goriest, like
It was
most
very
ridiculous,
extreme.
over the top, extreme violence,
Mhm.
which some people would definitely enjoy. But for me, like you, there were certain parts where I was just like, even hearing it, like with my eyes turned away, it was like, oh my God, this is
Yeah, I was like this
insane.
half of the movie. I was like, oh, like I can't, like no.
I get
Like
more
when that
wincey
guy
like that
ripped
watching
his
The
arms
Exorcist than
off.
I did watching this.
Wow, really?
Well, The Exorcist has
Really?
way more practical effects. It's way more disturbing. It gets you to your core. I
I
mean,
just
Suicide
can't watch
Squad
people
is
being
like
ripped apart.
Yeah, but dude, how old
that
are
guy.
you?
Well,
Shit.
the thing is, that was a real dummy that they ripped apart. Like it was a practical effect, which is probably why it shocked a lot more people. It wasn't a real guy they ripped apart. It was just a silicone with they built a skeleton inside. They built organs and everything, and they just had this stunt dude just tear it apart.
Well, that wasn't even my problem though. My problem was mostly with the really close shots. For example, I think it was one of them with the boomerang guy, like literally cut the dude's brain in half, and you can see like the
Yeah.
brain, and
Yep.
and the other dude like rips his own arms off and starts like fighting with it. I was like, what the
Oh, the
fuck am I
detachable
watching?
kid?
Yeah, the detachable kid. I was like, what the hell am I watching right now? Like I was
Well,
I,
that's
I was
straight out of
feeling a
the. That's
little
this.
squeamish. I was like, what the fuck? What?
That's funny because that's straight out of the comic book. He has these floating arms, or sometimes they're floating, sometimes he hurls them at people, and then they come back like boomerangs.
And well, I actually laughed because I was literally going, what the actual fuck? And then Harley's like, what the fuck? Like, and I was like, that's literally how I feel
She's
right
speaking
now.
for the rest of us.
She was. I was like literally screaming to myself, like, what am I watching? Because my husband refused to watch that with me. And one of the reasons he refused to watch it with me is the other reason that I was going to talk about is superhero fatigue. Because my husband's a huge nerd. But he was like, I'm not watching this. Like, I'm done like with superhero stuff right now. What I'm like, well, it's not superheroes, it's supervillains. And he's like, I'm like, no, I'm out. Like for now, I'm out. And the thing is with me is that I only watched it because I wanted to do this, and I probably am going to talk about it on Toxic Femme. So it's kind of like my job now to watch it. But I was really thinking about it, and I was thinking to myself, would I watch this if I didn't have to? And the answer was no. Like I was like, I don't know if I would watch it. And if I did watch it and I saw, like I would start watching it and I saw it was that violent, I would probably turn it off and not turn it on again. I was like, like the only reason I went back is because I kind of had to go back. Like I didn't, it wasn't something like, yeah, I'm gonna watch for 2 hours of people getting blown up.
Maimed.
Like,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
the other
don't know.
part too. Too often I hear the argument that because a movie is R-rated, it's going to be good. It's like that's not it at
not
all. It's if you're going to have an R rating, earn it and make sure it's utilized and central to what it is you want to tell. Otherwise, you can definitely do any type of movie, especially of a horror or violent stature, with a PG-13 or left, because it's all about the psychological impact as opposed to the visual stimuli. I mean, Eli Roth is the gore king of modern Hollywood, but I don't know many people that ever rewatch his films after their first viewing, unless they just want to go to the gory bits. It's like there's nothing else there that warrants the rewatch at all.
Yeah, I think you actually kind of came up with something that reminded me, another reason why I felt like this violence was off is that the kind of violence that we saw in it was almost the kind that you see in those silly slasher flicks, almost cartoony and almost like, oh yeah, gross and all that. But it's not what you expect in this Suicide Squad, especially because we do have a movie before it as a precedent.
But
to a point, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other part too is like the one aspect with regards to like a genre fatigue comes when the genre doesn't deliver on the premise. So, for instance, you have a genre called horror, which has never been fatigued, because even though there are tons of bad horror films, there's also tons of good ones out there as well, and it just doesn't lose momentum. It actually rests right in this like middle ground.
I don't know, man. After the fucking 15th Saw movie, I think horror saw a little bit of a decline as well.
Well, like a franchise a franchise within horror can die or go dormant, but the actual genre itself always sells.
That's true.
They want to make comic book films that case, but it just doesn't work. Like the model for it of these big budget films for a big budget return is just not going to happen, and as a result, the quality diminishes, and then you get a fatigue because it's like, oh, we're getting another one, and the odds of it being as great as that first one I saw that started this whole thing is really diminished because we know what they're doing right now. It comes with everything. Like, yeah, Saw, there's like 8, 9 movies of that every October of every year straight, and people just started checking out by like the 4th one. We have the same thing, I guess, with like The Conjuring and Annabelle. That's going to happen pretty soon.
And
the
Paranormal
Purge,
or whatever it was.
Paranormal, and then The Purge itself, like the latest one did pretty decent, but it did not have the same reach and spread in the conversation as compared to the other ones. So yeah, specific franchises within the genre can definitely die out, but the genre itself for horror never does. Action, there's been periods in our time where you don't get a big budget action movie for like 2 or 3 years. Same thing with like a romantic drama or a romantic comedy. You don't get any of those big talked about ones for a while. And then I think you have like the 50 Shades series was kind of like the biggest of like the salacious romantic film, and that kind of peaked and vanished pretty quick as well. But but for horror, it's always steady.
I would argue like 50 Shades was horror.
Oh God!
You could probably cross.
What about Twilight? Shit.
Now wait a minute.
No, Twilight was comedy. Jayne, you and me, we got to do a stream sometime talking about that.
Jayne's a twihard for sure. 200 Watt Studio says for $10. Thank you so much. Says orchestral score is what I meant. Yeah, that was non-existent for me. Like I barely heard an orchestral thing. I didn't even pay attention to that. So you're right. It sucked because that means it sucked. Also, when I say stakes, I mean stakes set at the beginning. The ultimate goal. Starro obviously is the threat, but the film was schizo. Ultimate threat was Waller. I guess that's true. Ultimate threat was kind of like Waller.
That's usually kind of the twist with a bunch of the Suicide Squad stories that I'm under the impression of is that, the enemy that they're stopping is one thing, but it's really Waller and her ability to control that enemy they stop. That's worse.
Yeah, like Waller and in this case, John Cena's character, because he went crazy and he killed the flag guy. Over
to
the
me,
whole media
I just saw it as basically the government. It's the government that's always the problem.
Right.
Well, the government's always the villain in
everything.
When you have the perception of a monarchy government where basically the elected officials become leaders and powerful as opposed to representatives, which is what the intention is, well, then that's the problem. It's like you don't get to tell us what to do. We put you in office. You do what we want you to do.
I keep wanting to call John Cena's character like China dude. I don't know why. Oh wait, I do.
Oh my goodness.
Mr. Tickle Trunk for $2. Thank you so very much. What is the super sticker you said? It's a little doggy.
Oh, doggy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But see, a lot of people in the chat think we're sissies, or we have like, dude, I don't know. I'm a girl, like, and I feel like I'm a kind of a desensitized person when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like for the most part, like I play violent video games, and I like violent movies. Like I like Deadpool. Like I didn't think Deadpool was as bad as this one, like in terms of the violence, even though it was pretty violent. I don't know that like the violence in Deadpool worked for me. This one, not so much. I just wasn't I don't know. I just thought this was a little over the top, like a
I
little
like
bit.
zombie movies, so I can deal with extreme violence. It's just this is even more extreme than
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting it, I guess.
Yeah.
I should have. I should have expected
I mean, I
it.
should have too, because I realized when I watched that commercial that there's going to be violence in this. I just didn't. I thought it was going to be like, a couple scenes here and there of King Shark
Throughout.
eating people throughout, like sprinkled throughout, like blah, blah, blah. I mean, even like, Zack Snyder's Justice League, people were like, oh, this is going to be fucking amazing. It's going to be violent. People are going to be ripped in half. Like shit's going to happen. And it wasn't that violent. Like, considering half the stuff I was hearing, like it wasn't as violent as I imagined it to be.
Yeah, well, that was
this took the cake over Spider-Verse.
Over that.
Snyderverse.
Yeah, well, the Man of Steel was far more violent than Batman or the Snyderverse cut Justice League, because you saw city get leveled there, but in the climax of that movie, it's like, oh, it's an abandoned city. There's no civilians to worry about. And it's a whole bunch of basic computer-generated bad guys that are soulless, essentially. So it's okay to watch our heroes kill them. And it's a it's like 5-on-1 fight with Steppenwolf. It's like, it's kind of anticlimactic in that point. Like it's just, you're only worried about the heroes' lives, and it's a hero movie, so they're not really going to die. So where's the threat, really?
Deadpool was different.
To clarify that point,
I don't know. Was it? I don't know. Yeah, it was done better. Like I could handle watching it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with violence. I've seen Quentin Tarantino movies, for crying out loud.
Yeah, me too.
My point was that I felt like it was out of place. It wasn't with the tone. And I actually watched this movie differently maybe than other people, because I watched the first Suicide Squad movie. I hadn't seen the first Suicide Squad movie, and then immediately after watched the Suicide Squad. So that's, I think, where I'm really feeling the disjunction between the two. And I just felt like it was off. That's all.
Well, it's a completely different movie, though. It's a reboot.
Yes, it is a reboot.
It's a remake adjacent.
You know what?
I think that's part of the confusion too. Maybe that.
I gotta say this about John Cena's character. Thomas Jones says, I wanted to dislike Peacemaker because of Cena, but I thought he was all right. John Cena killed it in this movie. Like I was like, I want to fucking hate this dude, and I did, but for the right reasons, because he made me want to hate him. At the beginning, I liked him. I was like, oh, I like this character. Fuck, I don't want to like this character. And then by the end, I hated him because he killed one of my favorite characters. And I hated him not because he's John Cena, but because he's Peacemaker and he's a piece of shit. And I was like, fuck you for killing my favorite character. So I think John Cena killed it. I mean, I was able to separate actor from talent in this, and I thought he did a fantastic job with the character, I thought.
And one thing also to note is that his apology was a non-denial apology. He didn't say that Taiwan wasn't a country. He just said, I said something I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
The thing is, he's not dismissing the fact that what he said was incorrect. He's just saying I shouldn't have said it, which I'm like thinking that's a really weird compromising way to apologize, because it's still not going to work, but you're not really helping anybody out, nor are you helping yourself with that.
They shouldn't have even apologized, but I guess maybe they made him.
So here we have Nerdic TV says, what is over the top violence in a comic book movie? So I would say, well, kind of like this, but another one that comes to my mind that I hated, like absolutely hated, was the movie Brightburn. Like I thought that movie was fucking awful, and I actually was into it through the first half, and then by the end of it, I was like, this is just a movie to make like gore glorified. It's glorified violence just for the sake of violence and its shock factor. It has nothing to do with what we want to see on screen. You could say so much without showing it when it comes to violence, like tasteful violence. The way actually, Teresa brought up Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino does a lot of that, and he has very violent movies, including Kill Bill. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I don't know. Like I'm not, that's what I'm saying. It's not like I don't like violent movies. It's just, I thought this was way too over the top for what it was. I didn't expect it to be this violent. And I can understand why some people would like that. I get it.
It was excessive. I don't think it was excessive. It just was over the top.
Yeah.
I think it fit. I mean, I think it is a comic book movie. It's, it is the Suicide Squad. You would
It's the
expect this
Suicide
sort of
Squad.
thing. So
Yeah.
it's there. It's supposed to be there. It
Mhm.
was just, I turned away.
I did too. I was like, oh, yeah. But I'm a
I didn't
girl,
turn
whatever.
away. I just felt like Gunn was trying too hard.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by the escalation of the Starro, like starfish that he gave out,
was
because
crazy.
apparently once, I mean, that's what he does, and when he gets to when he takes over those individuals, they don't die as a result. Like their faces aren't
That was
mutilated when those things
horrific.
come off. It's
Yeah.
like they're just like face huggers from Alien, but they don't penetrate. It's all psychically done.
Mhm.
And the whole idea is that when you destroy Starro, those things die and the people are freed and they're back to resume their lives. But it's like, no, James Gunn's like, no, as soon as they get on there, they're dead. They're corpses.
They're done.
I'm like, okay, sure, you up the stakes, but you also take away the option of being able to save those that have been had their will ripped out away from them to be these arms of Starro. I was like, like,
that was definitely interesting, an interesting twist. So in the comic book, you can free them.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of stories. There's a story where Superman's taken over by one for a bit, and they got to try and free him from that. I believe in the first Justice League comic, which is not the first Justice League, like how they were formed, but they fight Starro in the first Justice League comic, and I don't believe the Starro spawn kill the people it possesses. I'll have to go back and reread it. It's been quite a while. But like that's the whole. I mean, here's something that's actually a really interesting premise of Starro, and I actually liked the fact that they used Starro in this film. I was hoping they'd do more with him, but Starro takes over people's bodies, and he absorbs their knowledge and their skills and uses them as weapons for whatever goal he has. But in this case here, they were just like mindless drones, and then when the rats like sweep over them, they don't even fight back. They just kind of fall down and let it happen. And it's like, that seems antithetical to Starro's whatever he's trying to do. It's like, why would he let his minions just kind of fall away? Like he knows that these are going after him in some regard. Like there's a concept of defense required, or
you would think that he would build like a human wall with all the No, I get what you're saying. I was thinking the same thing too. I'm like, why isn't he doing anything with his like army of, I don't know, it just seemed weird.
Army of drones, essentially.
Like the army of
they were there to die.
Yeah, they were there to die. And he didn't even have one of them say, like, die, my pretties, and then just have them swarm the Suicide Squad to be like fodder. And like nothing fun like that. But
yeah, he should have definitely made a human wall of like
human wall, or made them far more aggressive. I mean, when you're seeing like Bloodsport and
have the rats like, claw like through the stomachs of the humans to like get at them and shit. Yeah,
dude, now you're getting into some cool violence too.
Now you're talking about violence too, right?
Yeah.
We got Jay Ice here for $2. Says R.I.P. Milton. Milton.
The guy carrying all the plastic explosives, and he dies.
That was funny. 200-watt series for $5 says, and I was really annoyed by the bearded egg computer nerd and Gunn's girlfriend in Waller's war room. Gunn's actual girlfriend was the war room chick as the goofy geek course. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was I think that's the brunette with the glasses.
Yeah,
there's another actress in there who I've not worked with, but I've met a couple of times trying to get work on a project with, named Jennifer Holland, and she was really good. She was the blonde chick. Who she recruits Peacemaker at the end for the Peacemaker show that's going to be premiering later this year.
That's interesting. Mr. Tickletrunk says Gunn zombified them so he could have cannon fodder for more violence. He didn't utilize it.
Didn't
as
utilize
much
it.
Yeah. I feel like they could have murdered more people with the rats.
More creatively.
I mean, you're talking about like when you have such a violent movie. I don't know. I feel like he kind of.
Why stop there?
Yeah, why stop there? Why stop anywhere? I mean, you got rats swimming around in some eyeball eating, like veins of the eyeball. I don't know. Could have ate through some humans. I did like the I did like that whole backstory of Bloodsport being scared of rats, and by the end, like how he was like.
Oh,
petting the rat.
Pet that rat, yeah.
What did you guys think of that?
It was silly.
Felt easy.
Yeah. So wait, in the comic books, he's actually not scared of rats.
I don't recall that.
Okay, all right. Okay. Anything else that you guys thought about the movie that?
I agree with Mega Mac that they could definitely bring in polka dot siblings. The fact that they were mentioned should mean something. You would think.
That could be
Speaking
explored,
of the polka dot dude, I actually really liked him
I
too.
liked him a lot.
Yeah, his whole issues with his mom was hilarious.
And his mom's played by freaking Lynn Ash, who is like this, who played she was in like I, Tonya and a bunch of other. It's like a good character actor all over the place. It's hysterical.
200 Watt Studio says for $2, Ender's Game had a better and more gory rap moment. That's true, and I love that.
I forgot
movie.
about Ender's Game.
That was a great movie.
It was,
but yeah, you're right. The rat scene was, whew. Okay. See, Argo saying I felt the polka dot death was unnecessary. I agree with that. I was like,
that was for
and
a
I
gag,
saw it coming. Like he was like, I'm a superhero. I was like, oh, he's gonna get crushed. And he did.
Yeah, but David Dashman was pretty good there. I always thought he'd make an amazing Joker just because he already has the face for it.
Yeah.
But they keep throwing him into other characters. He's played like a wizard in The Flash, and he's played a crazy person in Gotham, and now he's Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad.
Well, not anymore. He's dead.
He's dead. Yeah.
He did.
And then he's in Dune. He's coming up he's in Dune as
Oh, he's he?
Crap. Which character
I
is he?
forgot about that.
Peter DeVry. He's I keep forgetting the words. Where's Elaine from Nerd Cookies here to help me out?
I know, right? Where's Elaine?
But yeah, he's the Mentat.
He's the Mentat. Yes, thank you.
Oh, interesting. Well, he's a great actor, and I had no fucking clue about Polka Dot Man. I was like, who the hell is this? I've never even heard of this movie or this superhero before. So it was my first exposure to Polka Dot Man, and I thought his whole mom issue was really funny.
The result of parental abuse. I mean, it's a different take to the character, but it kind of worked a little bit for him.
Well, it worked in terms of how psychotic the Suicide Squad's supposed to be, Like, I mean, you had Harley Quinn, and then you have this dude that has like major mommy issues. I thought that was really funny.
I thought it was funny that he went so far back to pull this character. Like, is he in any recent comics? Like,
Maybe some Brave and the Bold
character.
He is an old one. I think he popped up in like Batman, Brave and the Bold, or The Outsiders, or things of that nature.
That was crazy to even pull him, but I thought it was weird when I heard that that's who they were going to use in the story, and it worked though. I really liked him.
He says he was the main. Mr. Tickletrunk says he's the main character in the main crazy person in the second Batman movie with Christian Bale. Mr. Tickletrunk
he was one of Dashman was one of the guys that was interrogated by Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent with the gun and the flipping of the coin.
I see. Mr. Tickletrunk for $5 also says, do you think that DC Universe follows the same rules with the animals as Disney? Main rat had a vest because the smarter the animal, the more clothes they wear. That's hilarious. That's a good point. Because I was wondering that too. I was like, why is this one rat special? Like, because every other rat just showed up and didn't have any clothes on or whatever.
This one sticks by Ratcatcher, yeah.
Yeah,
this was her pet, though.
It was her pet rat. So she had like a pet rat, and then she had like regular rats.
It's like if you have a puppy and you put clothes on it, but you have the power to communicate with all puppies. So you can get the other ones to help you, but yours is the one that's going to have on a little jacket and little shoes.
So would that one be called like Bitch Girl? Because
oh my god!
Because she controls canines. And he just wants to fix his teeth.
Script Doctor is laying down some real hard truth tonight.
Oh my god,
that was an amazing comment.
That's funny.
Played by Paris Hilton or something. I don't know.
Holy shit! Speak of the devil.
Hey,
here. We're talking about you, Nerd Cookies. What's going on, girl? We're asking who's this dude in Dune, and then you showed up.
It's like saying Rumpelstiltskin 3 times, right?
I know, right?
I just said it once and it happened. That was weird.
That was crazy. The Trini,
Coming.
she was probably lurking, and then she heard her name, and she's
Lurking.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna say hi now." That Trini gamer for $5 says, "I was actually eating while watching the first 10 minutes of the movie." Oh, bad mistake. Honestly, I was more nervous about who will die. Rest in peace, Rick Flag. I know. I was so upset. That one really did. I was so sad. I was like, no fucking way. Oh yeah, that's true. He was in Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh my gosh, he was.
Ooh. Light bulbs go off. Light bulbs go off.
The Nerd Cookies is the devil. It all makes sense now. Nerd Cookie says, "I didn't watch Suicide Squad because I'm gentle and tame, and I don't want to watch R-rated stuff." See,
That is a lie.
see, there you go.
what the
This is what I'm
devil would
talking
say.
about. Little tiny Nerd Cookies is not gonna like sully her eyes with like disgusting, nasty shit. She's a
Oh my
princess.
gosh.
Like
She's
no,
wholesome.
yeah. I'm
So-
always lurking, she says. Oh, you're so cute. E. Clay Thomason, thank you so much for the $5. Says, wouldn't I just read Mr. Tickletron? Wouldn't it have made more sense if King Shark swam into Starro's eyes or eye and killed it instead of the rats? I agree, man. I was thinking the same thing. Did she just need the woman to save the day? What's funny is I was thinking about that, and I was also like, wouldn't Aquaman be aware of this?
Oh,
Because
no.
doesn't he hear about like all the sea creatures and all this shit? These were sea creatures, right? I don't know. Isn't
No, this is
Starro
a
sea
space creature, and I don't think Aquaman can communicate with Starro, although I do believe he tried at some point in the comics.
Oh,
I
because
don't
he's
know
an
if they changed
alien.
that.
He's not an actual
Yeah.
starfish.
No,
Oh,
it just looks like one, but it's an alien, yeah.
Wait. Doesn't King Shark have the ability to communicate with sea creatures?
I think so, to a degree.
well, he
I know
tried, and
Aquaman can
then
communicate with him.
Yeah, he did.
he tried, and that part was really cute when he was like trying to like talk to the fishies, and then it turned out it was Starro's.
They were just preying on him.
They're trying
Like,
to eat him.
Couldn't he call for help from the other sea creatures?
He should have called Aquaman.
I don't know. I don't remember the power set. I don't even know which version of King Shark this is. If he's like just a freaky mutant from down in the bottom of the sea, or if he was a human turned shark, or.
But what's funny is in the movie they say the same thing. Like, we don't know what he is.
Yeah, they don't know what he is. I was wondering that too. I was
No
like,
idea.
I don't understand. Did they do some sort of weird surgery, like some sort of crazy Frankenstein doctor situation where they mix shark and man? Like, what is this thing supposed to be?
Some genetic
I don't understand this at all, but that's okay. Nerd Cookie says, I rarely watch R-rated stuff. Lies.
I think if she only watches the R-rated stuff, it's for language, but she can beep it out because she has like some sort of buzzer.
Oh, really?
I bet she has something
probably
like that.
bleeps it out for her.
I bet Nick would. Yeah.
Deranged Lunatic, thank you so much for the super sticker. I don't know what it is. Let me just
It's a rose.
check. It's a rose. Thank you so much. I
Yay.
appreciate you. And I'm sure Teresa loves that.
Yeah, one of my cousins.
200 What Studios, thank you so much for the $5. Says, what was watching the beginning, and I thought Ratcatcher was going to kill Pete Division because he ratted them out. Ratted them out the team. I thought it would be a cool moment. Yeah, that would have been funny. I just hate that the Flag guy died. I wanted him in the next movie.
That was sad.
Yeah.
What did
I
you
don't know.
guys?
Do you think there is going to be another movie though? Because
That's what I was gonna. That's where I was gonna go with this. What did you guys think? Because there was a final scene where John Cena's character Peacemaker is still alive. So do you guys think that means James Gunn has a go ahead for the second movie?
Well, that's a scene for the go ahead for the Peacemaker HBO series. It's
Right.
6 episodes coming out later this year.
Oh, so that's already set to go. I didn't know
It's
that.
finished production. It's all set to go. It's ready to drop pretty soon. Actually, he finished shooting it earlier this spring.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's exciting. So that's something we can watch later on this channel on Sundays. And bash John Cena's Peacemaker.
John China.
John China.
John China.
Oh, cookies, you're so cute. I love you too. She says, "I love you all" for $5.
Oh, we love you too.
You didn't have to send that.
Feeling
Thank you.
the
You're so
love.
sweet. I did. So this is the other thing I want to show up. Having discussed this film, let's just discuss really quickly kind of what's coming out now about you know, how it's doing in the box office and everything. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to cough.
Oh, okay.
How it's doing in the theater versus the streaming service, because apparently it's bombing. So, Script Doctor, do you want to kind of talk about what you think about what is going on here with everything?
Well, I think it has more to do with the fact that the DC brand is kind of tainted, and it's been tainted for quite a while. Because this one, I think they're estimating to take home around 26, 27 million over the weekend. Black Widow took about 60 million, I think, plus Disney Plus, or 40 million plus Disney Plus, which was decent. And the other part too is that HBO Max as a service is not going to extort its customers, so you don't have to rent to see Suicide Squad on HBO Max. So a lot of people probably signed up for it and watched it, and we'll probably get those numbers mid to next quarter, I think, unless they decide to do an early press release, say, yeah, on Tuesday, HBO Max got 2 million more subscribers because of Suicide Squad, and therefore you aggregate that money and you roll it into the box office, and you're like, yeah, we did really well. But I personally think it has more to do with the DC's brand, that no matter how good of a director or script or cast you get at this point, you're not going to have that box office burst that you're expecting. It's if people really do like this movie, it'll probably perform better in the following weekend than this current one because of word of mouth and proper opinions and reviews going out for people to get a better clarity of what's going on. But for the time being, it's still up in the air at this point. I mean, a $26 million opening in 2021, regardless of pandemic, that's still not great. Not for the budget and the marketing behind it.
Isn't this new ground, though? I mean,
yeah.
How do we judge at this early a period in 2020/2021 era what you can even expect, really, especially not just in terms of theater performance, but also just the current times and what people are going through emotionally. A lot of people, I can imagine, aren't in the right place to even watch any of this stuff, or they're not going to want to go to the theater, or they're not going to want to stream it. It's such a volatile moment in history and entertainment. I just don't know what they're judging it by. I get comparing it to how much you spent. Everybody wants to make a profit. But what is reasonable? What does a good movie performance look like in this era? I just don't know that we can judge just yet.
Yeah, and of course, as we were saying with the streaming, with it dividing up the two, I certainly did not go to the cinema to see this. I just saw it on HBO Max, and I think that you would have to be a pretty serious James Gunn fan or Suicide Squad fan or something to actually bother to go out and do it when you can just watch it at home.
So there you go. Here it says it fell short of its conservative $30 million projection, grossed over 26 million and 5,500 in 4,002 North American theaters.
Ooh, that's a lot of theaters.
That's just domestic, though, right? So does that consider Mexico and Canada as well?
Yes. To compare that a little bit, in North America, I believe all the Star Wars films only had about 3,000 theaters in the continent.
Wow. Oh.
But are all the seats available just because the theaters are, or are they still restricted? Does it matter?
In majority of the states, I think they have up to 50% of their seats are open, and only at a few states it's up to 25% capacity, and then there's some other states that have 100% capacity.
Yeah, here
So
I
the
think
conditions
here
are
is
way
half.
better than they were at during summer, early at the start of summer.
Yeah.
Here in Mexico, at least in Quintana Roo, where I'm from, it's half like the theater is available.
Yeah.
And half is not. I don't know. I just think it's really weird because there you hear things like the other post I posted. I think somebody was saying like that it did so well at HBO Max, like it's the most watched film like after the Justice League or whatever. But the second most viewed film over an opening weekend on HBO Max. But then we were talking about it in our thread, and Steve brought up the fact that a view counts as like what, like 20 or 30 seconds of viewing
Not even.
time.
I think it's like 14.
Yeah.
So let's say
And
you're
it's-
someone like me and you turn on the movie, right? And then you watch like a minute of it and it's super violent and you turn it off. That counts as a view.
They would count that as a view, yeah. That's the one thing too, is that there's multiple tiers of how they aggregate watch time for HBO Max and for the rest of these streaming services, and they go by the bare minimum because those numbers look good to the investors. What's really been difficult to get, and I don't think we're going to see any truth to that for some time, is the actual length of how often they were watched. So, for instance, there's a whole lot of people that definitely tuned in to the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, but there's a whole slew of numbers, and there's people that I've been talking to that have been telling me that not everyone who turned it on watched it. In fact, more people turned it off than watched it all the way
Is that
through.
like per IP too? Like that's the thing, because
It's usually per account number that they try to market it at. So your
I
HBO Max
see.
account number registers what you've watched, when you watched it, how long of what it is you watched, everything. But again, when you have all those variables in here, all HBO Max and all Warner Brothers have to do is pick the one that's most favorable to them on a marketing strategy and advertise that. So if they got views and they can say, oh yeah, millions of people watch this, it's fine. But it's like, yeah, well, you can go to a theater and you go to like Rotten Tomatoes or any other movie aggregate, and so many people have watched them, but the reviews still say it sucks or still says it really good, despite what the opposite argument is from the media. So you're not really being transparent with regards to those numbers. And there's a reason they don't want to be transparent, is because streaming is still very, very new. And if they start setting the bar of what it is what their marker is going to be for success, then it's going to be harder for them to sort of appease their stockholders when that marker's never hit anywhere else. So they're just sticking with basically activations and views. And it might get to a point where it's like, no, we can't do that, especially if they start incorporating advertisers into it and doing commercial breaks or in between binge show watches, in which case advertisers are going to be like, listen, if I'm going to be spending $2 to $3 million to place a commercial ad here, I need to know exactly how many people are watching, how long they're watching, and if they're going to be coming back. And if you can't give us those numbers, we're not going to give you what you want for your thing, in which case they're not going to see that third-party profit, which they most likely will need in order to survive the long game, because I don't think they'll be able to survive on subscriptions alone unless they rack up subscriptions, in which case they kill a majority of the market that doesn't want to pay $30 to $40 a month for a subscription of a streaming service.
Well, considering what you just said and everything we just talked about, is it likely that it's going to get a sequel? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it's
Probably
performing
no.
well
I
enough
think
to do it.
I think with the merger with Discovery, it's going to be a big clean house of everything that's not currently in production. So once all those movies are done, it's a brand new reset. And things that are currently being talked about, like Michael B. Jordan's take on Superman for HBO Max, and then J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman film. Those things are probably going to be pushed through as far as they can, but they're still sort of up in the air. The merger's not going to finish till mid next year, so they got plenty of time to get underway and start shooting.
There was also one thing about that I saw. Oh yeah, I did share this as well. That Idris Elba came out and said something about wanting to do a prequel of Bloodshot and or Bloodsport versus Superman prequel. What do you guys think about this idea? I mean, anything with Henry Cavill, I'm definitely down for. So, but then if this would happen, would this fall in the Snyderverse or would this fall in
gosh, what a mess.
It wouldn't fall
James
in
Gunn?
anything. No, that's the thing. Like right now with Warner Brothers, there's no consistent canon. Like it's basically plug and play. Like we'll take whatever actor from anywhere and we'll put them in with these other ones and just make a story. The weird thing is that even if you want to do an Idris Elba and Superman versus prequel, which I think conceptual wise is interesting. I don't think that type of story has the legs for a feature film, but maybe like an HBO Max, like 45-minute thing, because the comic book story it's based off is quite basic. It's like Idris Elba gets a kryptonite bullet. He manages to land a shot on Superman when he goes into the hospital. They take the bullet out, they heal him, Superman catches him, and that's it. It's very, very simple, very, very quick. I think it was like one issue in the pantheon of DC. So you got to have it a lot more layers. You got to give something extra for Idris Elba to be able to stay ahead of Superman besides just that kryptonite bullet. And that's going to be very, very difficult to pull off. I mean, personally, I don't even think these superheroes should be on the feature platform. I think they should be miniseries, like 10-episode seasons, very episodic, maybe one longer story arc, but nothing too elaborate, because that's their sweet spot. When you try to drag out a story to like 90 minutes or 2 hours, especially one with a thin concept such as, a human guy who's good at shooting things versus a demigod, you're kind of like going to run out of options to make that interesting unless you start bringing in all these other characters to pad out the story, in which case you're robbing the audience of the one thing they want to see, which is like a showdown between, Bloodsport and Superman. And
I mean, like, isn't Bloodsport kind of like a discount Batman anyway? Because like Batman's superpower is shooting people too. Like, he doesn't really have a superpower.
When Zack Snyder gets involved, Batman loves guns. And the pantheon, since his character's been like, evolved and redefined, he actually hates them because that's the weapon of choice that took his parents.
But that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, like, it's been done. Like a dude, like a good shoot or a good shot versus Superman. It's kind of been done now. Like,
well, yeah, because it's basically going to be, what are you going to have, a cutaway with Bruce Wayne sitting in his chair going, kryptonite bullet, why didn't I think of that? I wasn't
you could do
I
it.
shot him like 1,000 times with those automatic guns, and I didn't once think to put a kryptonite bullet in there.
Just have the Bloodsport backstory and conclude it with that face-off.
Oh, there you go.
You could have that. I would probably make it more like a bigger mission, and Superman gets involved and he gets the lucky shot, and now Superman's like, oh, I got to heal real quick before Bloodsport kills this guy that I'm trying to protect. And there's a lot of things you can throw in there, but it's going to be thin. It'd be better served as like a TV episode than it would a feature film.
I will say this. I'm sorry.
I think is almost this is almost the elephant in the room. What we're talking about that, because even to do that, just to have the money to bring in someone like Henry Cavill for whether it be a TV show or whatever, and the fact that this movie costs so bloody much, but they can't even get the money back. I think we're going to start to see smaller movies and smaller shows, or they're just all going to go to the small screen, and they're not going to be able to afford these big stars anyways, because they're not making money. Someone's got to pay these stars. Someone's got to pay for these big budget films, and they're not making their money back.
That's also very true.
But is it something that the stars are going to have to start to deal with? The fact that the studios aren't going to pay them big budget movie fees.
Hell yeah, that's why like ScarJo is suing now.
Yeah, I was about ready to say.
What is this about?
Well, it's a breach of. She's claiming a breach of contract, but that's going to be difficult for them to prove. I hope she does well, and I hope.
Yeah, but moving forward, people who are signing new contracts to do movies are going to be like, all right, let's talk like streaming service revenue here.
Well, those have been included into contracts since 2017, especially when they didn't know, like, because there's a lot of movies don't even know if they're going to get theatrical distribution when they start, unless they're like studio backs, like big studio backing.
Right.
Most of your mid-tier movies, they have to negotiate with distributors to see what they're going to do, if it's going to be video on demand, physical media, or if it's going to go through a streaming service like Amazon and Netflix. And so those contracts are actually put in there to the point where it's like, if Netflix decides to buy it and distribute it, the actors will get points on the sale.
Didn't seem to happen in her case, though.
Well, it didn't happen to hers because, again, her contract is with Disney through her own company and her own production company, because she's not paid directly. Her production company is paid, and then they give her money, which is done for tax purposes. So she's an employee of her own company. It's actually a smart thing to do. Lots of us do it.
It's like incorporating yourself.
Well, she didn't do it with her name, because then that screws you over in taxes anyway. She just started a company and then hired herself as an employee. Way safer to do, because you can then fire yourself and claim an unemployment insurance.
Unemployment, yeah. Yeah.
But the basic thing here is that she had a contract, and the contract was under an assumptive nature, which is always terrible, because she assumed that this would be getting a theatrical release exclusively. And truth be told is that distributors, even big studios, there's no default time for the length of exclusivity in theaters. It's always up to the motivation. Is like, we keep it in theaters if it's making money, and if it isn't making money, we then start using our secondary markets, which is your first, second, and third window distribution through, say, television or network affiliates, or syndication affiliates, and then you also have your home media, and then your streaming services, and those are all included into your contract, which are most likely included into Scarlett Johansson's contract. She's upset because she thought it was going to have a longer theatrical only run and then the Disney Plus side of things afterwards. But the fact of the matter is that the way that Disney distributed this film is it did have exclusive theatrical time slots. Granted, they were only days and not weeks. It still is considered legally acceptable within the terms of her contract. And because she wanted it more, well, if she wanted it more, she would have had to negotiate that in her contract to begin with. And she didn't. She let her agencies do that. She actually lent Carrie Fisher's ex-husband. Yeah. Carrie Fisher's ex-husband, Brian Lord, who is father of Billie Lord, Carrie Fisher's daughter, is her representative and co-founder of CAA agencies. And yeah, he's upset too, because he sees a cut of that as well as her representative. And so that now they're taking Disney to task, and the best thing that can come out of this is a disclosure of Disney's operations with regards to streaming and their theatrical release. And the worst thing that's going to come out of this is that it's going to be dismissed on not standing, because the accusation is something that is not in dispute with the contract at hand. And the other part too is ScarJo's on the accusatory side, which means she has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the intent was there to do financial harm to her, even though there's way more evidence to suggest that Disney, out of desperation, is doing everything they can to make the most amount of money for this product. So when you're trying to make the most amount of money for this product and you have a point system of compensation to your actor, it's really hard to prove that you're trying to hurt your actor in trying to make the most money as possible when they also receive a cut of that. So yeah, this is a very, very interesting case.
Well, I will one correction. Because it's a civil matter, not criminal, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a little bit of a lesser standard.
That is true, yes.
But I do wonder if they're going to get to the discovery to get all that information on Disney. And one, I wonder if they'll get past a motion for summary judgment. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily for the reasons you said. And even if they do, whatever they get could still be sealed.
That's true.
So will we ever really know? Probably not. Disney, I feel like, is super confident right now, as you can tell from the statement they released. And they are going to be laughing at her throughout this entire thing. I don't think they care about the publicity. I think
there was some updates today
won.
about that whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, there was well, not like on the Disney side, but more people are coming out for ScarJo and about like the whole Disney is screwing over female workers kind of thing. So
they've been doing that for 30 years.
Yeah, so there's more of that.
They're actually more progressive in the 80s than they are now.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not entirely certain, but if I recall correctly, in the lawsuit, there was also a part of it that when they decided to go ahead and go with the streaming, that they didn't allow her to renegotiate. Is there any legs on that accusation?
One, they didn't have to let her renegotiate. That has to be a mutually agreed upon thing. And then secondly, it seems like there was a conversation by email, maybe by phone and email, where she or her representatives were seeking reassurance that it was going to be an exclusive release, but they never sought to actually amend the contract. To me, that falls squarely on her
representatives. Yeah.
Okay.
That's her and her representatives. She should be suing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, here's a couple of things that came out like yesterday and today. Like, Disney accuses ScarJo of running highly orchestrated PR campaign with Black Widow lawsuit. Lawyers claim actor's written contract is clear as a bell. So there was that. And there was
Disney contracts are
also
really meticulous. Like it's hard to get confused with them.
it's also I can attest to that because I work for Nintendo and they literally spell everything out. So I can understand why Disney would say something like that because I would think that Disney would be doing the same thing. Disney should be ashamed for a statement against ScarJo SAG president says. That's the other thing that came out.
Should be ashamed.
Like a
No, well,
good
SAG-
union
For
rep.
shame.
Like a good union rep that doesn't want to lose their money.
Exactly. She wants her dues,
Exactly.
or he wants their dues. I forget. I don't even know who is the head. Is
Well,
SAG
you get
anymore.
SAG. Yeah, you pay your union dues, and then SAG is also works with your agents and managers to make sure that you get your royalties as well.
But this is war.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is they want to.
But see, this is the thing though. This is war, and we talked about this kind of like in the stream that Jayne was doing, where she was breaking down the lawsuit, and I was in the chat, and I was saying this is gonna kind of come down to the court of public opinion because it's not really gonna have anything to do with the actual contract in the end. And here we are, you get stuff like this. This sways people's opinions, right? Like,
But it's not going to sway a judge. Nobody cares. And
wouldn't
Disney
it,
knows
though?
that.
You don't know.
No, it's not.
No, because the judge is going to look at what does the contract say, who did what, where's the motivation, and
Hey, a judge is human too. Maybe she's a
They are.
ScarJo fan.
No. They
We
can
know
do
who the
that.
judge is. He worked for Paramount at one point. He represented them.
Oh, you know the judge. Yeah, you're right.
wait,
you're right.
how long ago did he represent Paramount?
Oh, that was years ago when he first
Was it
started.
before
practicing.
2000?
Yes, well before.
Okay, then yeah, he's probably competent. So
Oh, okay, there you go. That's
no,
funny.
because if it's after 2000, like that's when Paramount started falling apart, and then I unfortunately had the bad luck of being like the first ones to be axed from my internship after like 3 weeks because they were splitting up, and it's like, and all the great people that I was working with all got fired and went on to other things, and
Wow.
it was bad. It was really bad.
So
It could have been great.
Maybe Disney actually has a point on this, that it is a bit of a PR stunt. It's because she knows deep down she's not going to get anything, but she's going to get publicity and maybe get some sympathy.
Maybe.
I think that's what she's going for, but I just don't know
think-
how she's going to benefit financially going forward, because wouldn't this scare off other companies that would deal with her?
Good point.
That's the thing too. The Disney is a huge company that she's worked with, and like in the future, not just Black Widow. I mean, obviously Black Widow is gone, but if she wants to do other projects with Disney, like Disney Pixar, or like doing voice acting or anything, like anything with Disney, like now she's kind of shot herself in the foot. Like Disney's not gonna want to work with her anymore.
I mean, Black Widow's the only franchise she works in that makes money, because nobody saw the movie with her and Pouty McPoutface from Star Wars. The what the heck is his name? Adam Driver.
my God.
Oh, the
didn't see
divorce
that.
story was. Oh, the
I
marriage
watched
story.
it.
Yeah, it did not resonate well worldwide.
it's good.
Really? I thought it was good.
It is, but it doesn't make the money that a Marvel movie makes, and that's going
true.
to be
I
the
mean, it's not a
baseline,
Marvel
right?
movie. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was a good movie.
Yeah, but like a lot of the films that you take that she's in, that you take a look at box office wise, they're more auteur films, and they're good emotional dramas and very engaging, but they don't have the return anywhere near.
But that also wasn't Disney. If she does anything Disney, it'll be like, well, not Black Widow, but she'll do like, I don't know, like voicing something in some fucking
Maybe a
Pixar
Jungle
movie
Cruise
or
sequel or something
or
of that
like
nature.
Well, The
Yeah.
Rock
Exactly.
said he is not upset at all with Disney. He's not doing anything. He's not suing.
Well, he negotiates really good contracts because his agent is his ex-wife, and she gets alimony, so she's going to be doing a great
she's gonna
deal
make
for
it work. Oh yeah, that's
Done.
true. Mr.
Well
Tickletron,
done.
thank you so much for the $2. Says, why does King Shark only have 4 fingers and hands, or fingered hands? I don't know how he's a shark person. So how would I know the answer to this
We know
question?
nothing about this character, King
There's
Shark,
no
other than the
rhyme
fact
and
that
reason.
he wishes he could be more interacting with other people, but he also eats them. So
Yeah, he's got issues.
The whole friend thing was funny though. Like, friend no num num. I was like, oh god. Sylvester Stallone did a great job with his voice.
He did.
He was
Yeah.
good. And then there was a $7.99 super chat. Thank you for that. Aiken says, do you think this may have undertones? The starfish is really the coof or the drone-like attitude in dealing with it, i.e. little starfish controlling. I mean, you could look at any movie or anything like that deeply. I did, for example, with Tomorrow War, like I was like, oh God, like this whole movie is just entirely filled with like what's it
Propaganda.
called? Yeah, like propaganda and
Really?
undertones of like, oh my God, there was so much of it, Jane. I
But
was like,
what?
like, oh, I don't
Tomorrow
know.
War?
Like the one with Chris Pratt, like how it was like, oh,
What
like
was?
this virus, and like, the virologist is the hero, and like, she's gonna make the vaccine that's gonna cure everything. Like, dude, I was like, dude, are you fucking kidding
But
me
that's
right now
been
with this
but that's
movie?
been
Like,
in store. I mean, that's the zombie story. Like that's been
Oh,
in
Finding the
stories
Cure. That's
forever.
from Omega Man. Yeah, and Omega Man. I Am Legend.
yeah, but I
That
mean, I just thought like the undertones of like what they were saying along the same lines of what's going on right now was like really like over the top. But I'm saying you could do that with any movie. Like you could look at it like, uh, you know,
it's open enough to interpretation that
yeah,
you can slot in a certain ideology if you
you
want to.
could, but I mean, I didn't with this movie. I was like, this is a purely like just entertainment, like shut your brain off. Don't think about it like that kind of movie. I didn't really think about it like that. I tried not to think about it like that with Tomorrow War either, but Tomorrow War was a little bit more in your face than this one was.
Well, the whole
So
ice cap melting stuff was a little bit on the nose.
that's what I'm saying. There was just so much of it. I was
Well, the
like,
other
oh
part
God,
too
like
is that I'm a big opponent of any of the mindset of turning your brain off just to consume a movie, because it's like that's the exact opposite that you want, especially as a writer. It's like I don't want to put a message in my films, but I do want to get my audience to think about something that they might not normally think about. And I'm not going to
mhm.
tell them how to do it. I'm not going to tell them why they should do it. I'm just going to say, here's this idea. I'm going to have fun with it. Maybe you'll have fun with it too. And hopefully it engages you, and maybe you start asking questions about yourself or about other movies or about your friends that maybe open up things and strengthen relationships, and not be a contentious, like, fight over Thanksgiving dinner. Cause I don't want that in the stuff that I talk about. That's like arbitrary questions. How far are you willing to go to rescue a loved one? Like that's a great question to have. And that's a good thought to have and inject into your film and make a discussion. But if you just want something like, Crank or Transformers, it's like
Yeah,
those
but that's the
movies
thing.
aren't
Script doctor,
satisfying.
they can't really distinguish that anymore. So they've come to like basically we're gonna just either make it so in your face, kind of like they did with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like it's gonna be just like
Yeah.
insanely like political and like insanely in your
Oh my
face. Like
gosh.
they're not gonna make it like there's no fine line anymore. It's either gonna be that or it's gonna be dumb as fuck and like this basically like this. Like
Well, yeah,
But
that's
I mean,
that's either lazy writing or conforming to the person that's writing the checks. He's like, I don't get it. Tell me to me like I'm 4 years. Like you're 38 and you have billions of dollars. No one should have to talk to you like you're 4.
but if you have a post-apocalyptic or dystopian type movie, you're going to be thinking about like how did we get to this point? And it's
Mhm.
usually going to be humans destroying themselves. And how do we do that? Usually politics or something having to do with the earth. It's just that's
Well,
how
yeah,
we
and
would
in the Tomorrow
probably
War,
end
it's like
ourselves.
third party and incompetence.
An alien, whatever. But I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
It's a third
there are
party.
only so
It's
many
like
things you can do.
Yeah,
it's so
there's always
crazy.
aspects of that. I think it's how it's framed within the story that makes the difference.
It's how it's framed with the story and also the times. That's why it's like it's just kind of like for me, Tomorrow War was really rampant with it because I was like, oh God, like it's literally like the times that's happening. Like I was having this discussion with I think like a brief discussion with Steve the other day where he was like, oh, I missed that, I missed 24. And I was like saying like, I never watched 24 because at the time I was so against like the propaganda of the like that I was like so over the whole war and like every brown person being a terrorist. I was like, I'm not watching this movie or like this series because why would I want to watch propaganda? So it's
Yeah.
like at the time, there's certain things that happen at the time, and then certain things are released from Hollywood that are, they're trying to normalize this reality that we're in by putting it and wrapping it up for you in a neat little package and being like, don't worry, it's science fiction, but it's really not. You're actually living through it. It's very
Well, it's
underhanded
just
stuff.
it's an oversimplification, and it's like usurping what science fiction is supposed to do, which is like, oh, let's take all these different perspectives and like throw them together and watch the conflict. And that's the best part. Like that's why you can like a show. If you don't want 24, go watch Sleeper Cell, where you have people who are of the faith who are like saying, yeah, these extremists here, they're perverting the thing that I believe in. and I'm going to do everything I can to stop them. Like, that's a cool, interesting method, because it's like, it's basically reminding people like, yeah, people are very, very complicated. Situations are actually rather simple, and they only get bad when complicated people mess around with them. So you got to, fight them back with other ideas and other methods. When it comes to like science fiction, especially recently, I'm sick and tired of these movies where primitive creatures somehow travel across the stars, land on Earth, and then just start mauling us all like it's nothing. It's like, it's a spacefaring species, yet they can't communicate well. They don't wear clothes. They don't use technology. They somehow got here, and they're able to wipe all of our population off the planet effortlessly by comparison. It's like, this isn't sci-fi. This is just stupid.
Wasn't the idea that they were put here as a weapon or some sort of...
They were most likely like farm animals or something, and the ship crashed from a more advanced species, which I thought, okay, a little bit better of an idea. But I look at something like The Quiet Place, which institutes the same sort of premise, and I'm just thinking, no, you're missing. There's just so much wrong with this in every way. Like, point. I do not like. I know enough soldiers. I know enough people that work in like in military institutions and military contractors. They watch that movie and they're thinking, there's no way these creatures would ever take over anything. We'd figure out how to kill them super fast, like you would not believe. Especially if they were sensitive to hearing, it's like not a problem. The only way that would ever happen is if we voluntarily let it happen for some sort of weird political agenda of like depopulation or something. I'm like, hey, that'd be a great big story for part 3.
There we are.
There you go. Well, this has been an interesting conversation. We went from reviewing the Suicide Squad to talking about insane stuff with ScarJo to now talking about Tomorrow War. But it's always a fascinating discussion with you guys. I love the Sunday streams and our nerding out together. So we will be back next week, or possibly next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we will be back again at some point on a Sunday when we have something to talk about. We are going to review What If. That's coming out soon, I believe. Yeah. I think it starts this Wednesday. So cool. So we will be back next Sunday to discuss the first episode of What If. Apparently Peggy Carter already looks like a man, so that's going to be really interesting to see. The art is already very interesting because she looks literally like a man.
She looks like a man.
Well, a steroided woman does look pretty. A steroided woman does look fairly masculine, so I would assume that'd be the case. But I don't like it because I remember when female bodybuilders looked muscular and still feminine, and you think they'd go with that approach, but
I don't know who said it, but they were like, I don't care about What If. That's what, like, the I think it was either Az or Ryan Kinnell. I don't remember who it was, but they were like, they should make What If and put all the crap SJW crazy shit in there that's like animated and we don't care about, and then like keep it out of the actual live action shows that people actually watch. And I was like, that would be really interesting, but I think they're going to even, trash the animated stuff by, stuff like this, like manifying like female characters and things like that. But we'll see.
It's such a shame because Haley Atwell always looks 10 years younger than she actually is. Like, even when she started, she looked like a child, like 15 years ago. And she's like 39 now and she still looks 30.
Oh my gosh. You played a red-headed terrorist on Star Trek TNG? What?
Oh, is that the one where the Dr. Crusher is taken hostage?
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
We also have K-Train for $2 says, will any of you be in the Las Vegas meetup? I think Jane's going, right?
I'm still on the fence about it. I'll decide at the last minute.
Oh, wow.
It's just everything is starting to shut down. And a lot of the stuff I wanted to do, I can't now with all the restrictions and stuff. And it's just like...
they're saying that they're really fighting it in Vegas, though. So I think you're going to...
I hope so.
Okay, maybe. I don't know.
I want people to travel again. I need to leave the province.
This is why I didn't buy my tickets, you guys, because I kind of knew that they're gonna maybe possibly shut down and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know about this.
In Louisiana, they're starting to close down our festivals already.
Oh, that sucks, Jane. I'm so sorry. So no for me. Unfortunately, I won't be going. I wish I was. I'm going to definitely try to make the one next year for the Comicsgate / Fan Fest, whatever it is, in Florida, because Florida is pretty close and it's open. and it's whatever. So it's just like an hour flight
It's
for
right
me.
next door.
It's right next door. So I'll probably be going to the Florida one. And I mean, if all else fails, hell, everybody's welcome to Cancun at some point. I mean, we can have a fan fest here in Cancun because we're open, and
Yay.
Cancun's freaking awesome. So
On the resort, though. Don't leave the
Mhm.
resort.
yeah, F the shutdowns. I agree. Yeah, only the resort, you guys. And
Yeah.
places that I say is okay to go because I know everything now. So like safe places and stuff.
Stay inside your hotel in the resort.
Oh,
Nah.
If he's
No,
the
there's
entire purpose
actually
of going somewhere.
There's actually some really nice places to go that's very safe. That's not the resort. And those places are just like that they're like pristine beaches, really fucking awesome stuff. And you'll never be bothered there because there's like nobody there. But Deranged Lunatic for DL, aka DL for $1.99. Thank you so much. Says that's a shame. Haley Atwell is hot as hell. Wait, who's Haley Atwell again?
She's Peggy Carter, the beauty.
Oh yeah, she
The
is.
British
Yeah.
beauty.
There was a picture of her. I'm trying to find this.
There's
I
lots
sent
of great
it in.
pictures of her.
No, I mean, there's a picture of her that I sent in. I think I sent it to the Sunday night hangs where she's like literally like showing off cleavage, and everyone's like, "What happened to Peggy Carter like in the animated version?" Because
Oh,
she
yeah.
looks like shit. Like she looks like a man. Oh, there it is.
Well, she doesn't do nudity. She just likes to keep things sexy.
Yeah, she's just a very sexy girl. Like this person's like spot the difference, and like she has like very nice boobs. Not so
Everybody
much with her.
stare.
They're all gone.
Like there's no boob armor, nothing.
Yeah, it's
Wow, like she's beautiful.
yeah.
And then
They
that's
did
her,
give her a male face.
that's
they-
her animated
they-
version.
Did flatten it a little. Yeah, they tempered those cheekbones.
They gave her a
That's
man
crazy.
jaw. Like this
So
is,
do they cut
this
off
is
her hair?
Superman's
too?
jaw, you guys. Like
I just don't know what they did.
It's like they start with a male character and then call it female.
Then throw a female-ish face over top of it.
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Wow.
That's crazy.
But yeah, this is the kind of stuff we have to look forward to next Sunday when we talk about the first episode of What If. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We had a lot of people in the chat. Please make sure you smash the like and share the stream, share the video out so other people can watch it if they didn't catch the live. So we had H&1, HM, Snotbrat, Apex, everybody, Shane, Keely just got here, but we're leaving. HM, that's Trini Gamer. So many people.
Hello.
Deranged Lunatic, of course. H&1, K Train. So many others. Mega Mac, I love you guys all. Liquid Blake, Nerd Cookies, of course, Nerd Cookies. Everybody, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much, Aiken, 200 Watt Studios, of course. Everybody that was here. Join us next Sunday as we review the shit show that will be What If. Maybe what if?
No.
What
if it's gonna be good? You don't know unless you watch it.
That's true.
Uh,
Maybe it will.
Hey, you never know. Catch us next week, and we out.
Peace.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
How about new?